and welcome back to another episode of OHKO, a Pokemon VGC podcast. We are officially in the quote-unquote off-season, but Pokemon has given us a freebie and is now some changes to the 2026 season, so a lot to talk about in today's episode. My name is Celadon, one of your hosts, joined here by my co-host, Joe Brown. How are you doing? How are you with the... But NASC's done. The only thing we have is Victory Road Tours to get us through right now.
I feel a little sad. I think also this weekend should be the St. Jude Charity VGC tournament as well, so that should be exciting. I hope everyone has fun and donates to St. Jude. You know, Sierra and I participated in those streams before. But yeah, it's a bit of a downtime, bit of a lull, and every week, like, man, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? And then sometimes just Pikachu with the easiest layup of all time, and we got a whole show prepared today now.
We definitely do. And for those who participate in multiple different parts of the Pokemon franchise as well, maybe it's like a downtime for competitive, but I'm doing raids right now. Right now, there's the Regielekis and Regidragos. On Friday, they do a bunch of different Regis. And then this weekend, it's Zacian and Zamazenta, and they have the chance to be shiny. Both really good in Pokemon VGC. So if you love wasting money on a 1 in 25 chance to get a shiny, I'm just throwing it out there. Just in case anyone's interested.
Anyone has any extra raids, send them Sierra's way. I saw you in the Discord trying to get that shiny Regieleki.
I got two.
Hey,
yeah, but I've done a bunch of I've done a bunch of Regidrago raids today, and it's been no dice. But you know, it's fine. It's fine. But
we'll get there.
Yes, a lot of changes here for the Pokemon season. Let me pull up the tab. So I actually thought that this information was going to be released a little bit later. I was a little surprised to see it drop. I'm not complaining ever. I will not complain. But I was a little surprised to see it. But offhand, we're going to go through the things one by one here to make sure that we're keeping track. So if anyone has not seen the changes, championships.pokemon.com season changes. Just search up season changes. The Play Pokemon account also tweeted about it. Also with some really interesting like graphics and header. They kept saying like mega. Check out the mega season news and stuff. So that's something we have to dive into after as well, because obviously a bunch of different takeaways we can have from that. First off, what's new for the 2026 Pokemon Championship Series? Offhand, the short form, guys, League Challenges and League Cup start dates, Swiss Tournament Round updates, TCG end of round rule change, championship point adjustments. That also includes the amount of invites for Worlds. Pokemon Go Travel Awards Travel Stipend update. We'll probably breeze through that. They just get more money. Great on them. I love that for you guys. Congrats. We love more money for our participants. Ace Trainer Rewards program returns, and Pokemon Unite Championship Series Regional League debut, which is interesting. So first off, start dates. TCG and Pokemon Go League Challenges, League Cups will resume starting July 1st. And if you are a fan of the Pokemon video game, you are SOL until September 1st.
I do think, but this is an important thing to clarify, because there's either newer players or people who are unfamiliar. This is like, I'm not saying it's okay because it's always how it works, therefore just, suck it up or whatever. Just telling everybody this is always how it's been, is that TCG's new season has always started in July as we wait for Worlds, and VGC has always waited until after Worlds for the next season to start. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just there's been a lot of confusion on social media saying this isn't fair. Why is this blah, blah, blah? Like, this, a lot of these stores, right? You have to consistently have TCG events every month. I believe actually for some of the local game stores, they have to run a TCG and Go League challenge in this kind of this off season, this summer season between Worlds, in order to remain eligible as a local game store. I think that's one of the stipulations. So I'm not, for people who want to play VGC in the middle of July, just so we all are clear, this is the normal operating system. Nothing has changed that VGC is being left out, or this is usually how TPCI operates.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. I would love to see that there's optional video game stuff. I like, just because it's how it's always been doesn't mean I necessarily like it, but you're not wrong in the fact that this is how it is. So like, I'm not surprised.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying this is not new. And I saw some people on social media acting like this was a new development that TCG is getting, more treatment or whatever. This is not new. Yeah.
This is just normal stuff. I do think I saw somebody, and don't quote me on this, I wish I actually did pull this up before the podcast, but I kind of didn't realize it'd be something talked about. I think they've changed a smidge of the eligibility for VGC in terms of what will allow shops to, and particularly in like what gets done in the summer break. I think Gabby was tweeting about it. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. So I think that they've made it a little less harsh for people needing to be like, this needs to be ran at this time for you to have VGC events, which is good overall. But yeah, not really much else we can say about that. If you like VGC, again, Victory Road holds grassroots. There's charity events. There's St. James. There's just other stuff. Have fun. Next up, this one is actually a really, really big piece of news. So obviously going into our 2025 season, a really big change to the tournament was going to the asymmetrical top cut for regionals. That was then looking at 8 Swiss rounds on day 1 as opposed to 9, and then just a couple of rounds the next day, depending on the amount of people there, before you got into the asymmetrical top cut, anywhere down to top 32. A big point of discussion after that was, hey, if we had just one more Swiss round, these numbers would work so much better. People a lot smarter than me did the math on it. They were like, this just works. Like, trust us, this is better. So now going into this year with the note, taking trainer feedback into consideration, the Swiss format is undergoing some changes. Now, if there's at least 65 participants, there'll be an additional round of Swiss, which means it is going to be that extra round that people have asked for, which makes that top cut just a little bit cleaner. And because of that additional Swiss round, they're going to now, instead of 32 being the top amount for the asymmetrical top cut, now it's going to be a top 16 total, which, I mean, you're talking about smaller top cuts. The players were like gained the idea of like that additional round. So I think that this should be really well-received news.
Yeah, I think if I could be selfish in this moment, one, I like to call this the Rajan round, because if you remember, regional champion Rajan Ball came on our pod and told us that if we add one extra round, he was one of the leaders that, not that he came up with the system, but he was talking with people saying the math. If you just do one more round, then you'll only have top 16 and a couple of people, because it's, I mean, I'm just going to have a victory lap here, because I got lambasted on the internet for saying it's ridiculous that a 400-player event has 26 players in Top Cut. And I was eviscerated for that opinion. And it seems as if Pikachu kind of agrees. And having one additional round fixes that. Because to me, it was never taking away anybody's qualification. Like, everybody who got that record did get earn a Top Cut qualification for that tournament. I never took anything away from it. It was just like you were rewarding too much of the player base, where now if it cuts off at top 16, and let's say on usual, like on average, unusual, whatever, maybe it'll be 12 or 13 people that have that X and 2 record or above, whatever it's going to be. And then you're just kind of like letting a couple extra people in instead of letting everybody in and diluting the pool, and so many more asymmetrical matchups. And it's all very confusing. I think top 16 being a finite number also is easier to understand from a viewer perspective. Now we can just say top 16 instead of, the asymmetrical round before top 16, before it was very confusing system they had before. Now it's very simple. It will be 16 people. Like, obviously our regionals, maybe there might be some region special events or special championships, I think they're called now, that might not hit 65, but for the most part, obviously all our regionals will hit it, so we'll always have that additional Swiss round. And day 1 or day 2, excuse me, Sarah, always felt super short anyway this last season. I don't know about you, so I like having one extra Swiss round.
See, I think it's a and I would have to go back to look at the math that people done it and etc. I think that it's kind of a potato type change if you kind of really think about it. Obviously, then, if you're looking at that extra Swiss round and you get rid of that top 32, it's kind of the same thing. It's just kind of spreads out where you can take your win and your loss throughout the day for the Swiss, as opposed to once you hit top 32, you have to win out from there. So it's just, you can lose that, like, like you can lose that round one if you're undefeated. Like it changes where you can take your loss, I think, is the only really big thing. I definitely do not think that them going to a 16 as opposed to a 32 is Pokemon justified. I still massively disagree with you on the whole everything with Top Cut, and I don't think that this is a I don't take this as a Pokemon thinking top 32 too much. I think it is you can't have the additional Swiss and the top 32. It's one or the other. And
I mean, just how is it any other way is my confusion. Like that, the intention of like the Rajan round, right? We're adding an extra round so that it's not 26 people, so that it is a lower amount of people. How is there any other, I guess I'm confused at any other interpretation besides they want to have a tighter top cut?
I don't think they want need or want a tighter top cut. It is we will give that Swiss round, but we can't do the Swiss and the top 32 because then that's just extending the tournament too long. So we're going to cap it at 16 realistically with the fact that the numbers more or less should line up with it being a cleanish top 16 as opposed to top 32 where you'd get anywhere from 18 to 32 depending on the amount of people showing up. I think this just makes it a little bit cleaner in terms of not having as many buy rounds and all of that sort of stuff. So you bring that Swiss, you get rid of a lot of those buy rounds, and you have less variance on where you're going to land with how many people are within that top cut. That's kind of more so how I take it. I'm still on the opinion that if you want to say top 8, top 16, top 32 is all different, and you're not rewarded at top 32. Like if you are top 8, you don't get that same prizing, you don't get the same points. So it's whatever. But I do think that it is weird to see as many buys as you can have at a top 32. That's always that's kind of a weird one. And how much it can vary from 17 to 32 people. So I think this will just make it so much cleaner overall. But I'm not looking forward to, I don't even know how possible it is with the numbers. The first time that we get somebody bubbling out at 17th at the same record as everyone else.
100%.
See, that I just don't like. See, that I just don't like on a very personal level, but it is.
See, but now the tournament, it will be 16 people in Top Cut. Where before it could be 18, it could be 23, it could be 26. There was uncertainty to it. 6 people had buys, 13 people had buys, whatever. Obviously not 13, but you know what I mean. So even though the system was a top 32, we essentially never hit top 32. Even at NAIC, an 1,100 player event, we still didn't have 32 people in Top Cut, right? So there was very much an unknown level of how many people would actually qualify for Top Cut. Now it will at maximum be 16.
Yeah, which that I think is my favorite change of that. But I've always been vocal of the fact that if somebody is at the same record as somebody that's within that Top Cut, that sucks. And that I just never feel good about that when there's so much RNG with who you get paired against, how your opponents, etc. I could go on forever about it. So that is my biggest gripe, but I do like that it's not as varied. So yeah, I would love to know what people think about that. Obviously this is something that the players were kind of asking for, so that should line up a lot more. I think too, and I could be wrong, I know TCG, their top cuts have been kind of weird with how big their tournaments are. Yeah. So I think that this especially should be. I'm not the most educated on it, but I think that this should be an even better change for them.
Yeah, I do wonder what's going to happen with TCG because I've seen people that qualify for day 2, right? Remember that discussion? You qualified for day 2, but you're not even eligible to make Top Cut, even if you win every match on day 2. It's well, how are you still in the running for the tournament if you're not even eligible to win the tournament? Depending on the tiebreakers and stuff, it was a very confusing point for TCG players. So I do wonder if this is if this top 16 is going to affect them in any way. But they do play more rounds than us, right? So maybe they already naturally had that lower level, and I don't know, maybe it won't affect them as much.
No, it'd be interesting to see. I'd be interested in talking to somebody and trying to figure out a little bit more about that. But TCG is going through a couple of different changes. We can move on to the next one. TCG end of round rule change. So for those who aren't the most familiar with the TCG, or you've watched a little bit while waiting for VGC finals on Championship Sunday, you might notice that a lot of the time for the Pokemon TCG, they end up going to time. And by a lot of the time, I mean, I feel like every single stream match goes to time. Even when they get extra, they play a long game, guys. They play a long game. I don't personally miss that.
Just yesterday, I see all 3 rounds of the juniors, seniors, and masters finals, 75 minutes plus.
I know. I was sitting in the crowd through all of that, all of it. But essentially, once time is called, you have 3 additional turns plus a turn 0 for whoever turns it was, and that is more so of a untimed thing. There could maybe be like a backing clock, or if someone's taking way too long, maybe judges get involved. But for the most part, like people would be like kind of quick during the game, and then we get to turns, and it's just like, let me look at my cards for 5 minutes kind of stuff, right? And then you keep doing that back and forth. Now they've changed it to a +1. So after the time is called, competitors have an additional full turn to complete the match. And there'll be an overtime clock of 10 minutes instituted for that additional turn. And if the play doesn't conclude within that time, the game is a draw. So, I mean, TCG, there's a lot of draws. This is not really helping that situation. But realistically, like a lot of games, from what I've heard and like what I've experienced, if you're getting to time anyways, especially like game 2, it's kind of probably going to be a draw. I think the only way to really change how many draws we're having within a circuit is to go to just a best of 1, but it doesn't look like that's ever going to happen. As long as we're in best of 3s, ties are just kind of an inherent part of the game.
Yeah, I think this is definitely an interesting change that, like, for those unfamiliar, okay, you just go from +3 to +1, whatever. Like, it is a massive difference, because a lot of times, if you have 50-minute round timers, right? Like, a lot of times game 2 will finish like 42 minutes in, and then you're shuffling. You're shuffling as fast as well, if you want to be on the up and up, you're shuffling as fast as you can to get into that game 3. We know not every trading card game player has that tendency to have their upkeep done quickly, but that's I think that's a part of the frustration with this rule change on some people's end, is that there are very much people that could they would much rather get a tie than a round loss, right? In that scenario. So if they are starting to feel the heat in game 3 and they know there's only 3 minutes left, they can try to run the clock out a little bit better. And oh, sorry, I'm turn 0. You have 1 chance to take 6 prizes this turn. Sorry, we're going to end up in a draw, when I would have, if we had 3 turns, I could have lost the game. So I think that there could be some potential bad actors in this way. I saw some TCG players tweeting that if they want this to be the system, then they should extend the round timer to 55 minutes instead of 50 minutes, because then it gives you, it's kind of accomplishing the same thing, where you're getting those the extra time to try to finish games. And then at that point, if you did go over 55 minutes, then like you did deserve to tie, right? Like you went longer than usual and still could not have a conclusion. So that's an understandable result.
It's just, I don't even think, like, when you look at how long a game 1 can take in TCG, like if you're looking at a 3-game set to actually have a conclusive winner, like, again, I've been out of TCG for a little bit now, so if anyone's more TCG, don't be like, oh my god, Sierra, you know anything. I'm admitting I don't know enough to actually say about this. I just don't really see where that 5 minutes would make the biggest difference if you already are looking at inherent game 1s that take so long, and people that would rather take ties rather than losses, right? Like if you lose game 1, like I don't know. I just don't see it being a thing. I'm curious with how exactly this plays out, if it's actually going to be having a big impact, or if it's more so for making sure tournaments don't go later than they already do, and it's not really a benefit to the players more so as it is to tournament staff and operations, because TCG just goes way too long, and this would maybe try and cut that down.
That's the thing, is like, so it goes too long, and then that's why I'm confused. Okay, you want to cut down on the time per round, and no more +3 turns, it's just 1. You want to go faster, but then you give an overtime clock of 10 minutes for 1 turn. Like I know it's the turn 0 and then the turn 1 or whatever, right? Like, but like, isn't that isn't that kind of still the problem? If it takes you 10 minutes to do one turn, right, in the game, it's like you're kind of like, you, not that you are guaranteed to be slow playing at that point, but if it takes you 10 minutes to do one turn to make all your decisions or whatever, like that's kind of very hard in my opinion. And I know TCG players say, oh, but if you wait exactly 14 seconds on every action, and then you send your 14 seconds on your search, and your 14, like, then it'll add up, whatever. But like, you kind of just move the problem into this extra, that 10 minutes that the +3 turns could have taken before, you just moved it into one turn now. One thing that One Piece does, which I know it's a best of one thing, but they're overtime. So it's 30-minute rounds, best of one 30 minutes, and then it is +3 turns or 5 minutes. That like, and so when I play in One Piece regionals and my locals and everything, and you call time, everybody understands. Okay, this is +3 turns or 5 minutes. So you still have to keep the pace up, and then you're not searching your deck as often in One Piece as you do in Pokemon, and the shuffling and everything like that. I understand, but I think they kind of just move the problem of times to this extra overtime clock instead of people taking forever in the middle of the round, which is the problem. That is the reason there are so many draws, is because the pace of play is not enforced properly.
I think when I see, because correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't an overtime clock before, right? Because
right,
I don't.
That was the issue.
So
you had the 20-minute toward in the finals, right? The 20-minute turn 2, right?
Yeah. So I'm not like, when I see the 10 minutes, I'm not seeing as we think players will take 10 minutes. I think it's more so, hey, like the toward 20-minute turn, that just can't happen. So like, I don't think that there's actually really going to be too many situations of the 10 minutes. Because again, what are you accomplishing in that 10 minutes? Like, if you can't complete the action on your turn to win the game and it's a tie, it'll be a tie whether you end it right when it goes to your turn or at the end of the 10 minutes. Like, you don't actually gain anything from that. So I don't see in that 10 minutes people slow playing it. It would just be to make sure in extreme circumstances there is an actual definitive like end time.
And I do think that Pokemon is hoping that players will just start to not concede, but to agree to tie when the time is up. Now there's literally only one chance, and if you physically cannot take 6 prizes on that turn, the game will result in a tie. So I think they're hoping player where before they're like, oh, there's +3 turns, I might have a chance. I don't know. Let's play it out. Now, if you can't win the game the next turn, they're like, all right, bro, like, let's just side slip. It's a draw. Yeah, we can't win. Okay. I think that's what Pokemon's hoping, which could actually potentially speed up the end of rounds.
Yeah. Which I think that's pretty reasonable too, when you're kind of looking at it. Like, anyone who knows TCG at any point, like, again, like, if you have only one turn, what is the point of trying to play it out and stalling the 10 minutes? There is none. Like, I think it's just a definitive endpoint. But like, again, I still think like what you're talking about with One Piece with the best of one, like, best of one just seems so good for TCG. Obviously, donks happen and that sucks, but like, bro, like, you want to be aware of time. Like,
they just have more rounds. Usually, it's 10 rounds instead of 9. And I know like Pokemon players, we just do 13 best of one rounds, it solves everything. I'm like, shh. Somebody's got to go like 12-1 to make that's a lot of matches to get in.
It'd be interesting to see how this kind of goes throughout the year, but I
don't think TCG players are happy with this one, from my understandings of social media.
Yeah, but again, like, how many times does the game resolve in turns? I would see like the biggest issue is if you're 3 prizes away from winning, you actually have the path to win, and your opponent slow plays, so you only get +1. Which then again goes into people on the floor need to be more enforcing slow play penalties and stuff. But I think when you actually get to the turns itself, like, if you weren't going to win, and like, I don't know, I don't see too many, but I don't know. That'll be an interesting one. Championship point table adjustments, unless you had anything else to say on the TCG stuff. All right, and anyone who's like, oh my god, VGC, this is all the circuit changes for next year. This is everything, all right?
We'll talk a little bit.
We're going through everything one by one. Championship point table adjustment. So tweaks have been made to the championship points and kickers for grand challenges, global challenges, league challenges, regional, special, international events. Biggest one offhand, being the grand challenges and global challenges now provide separate rewards per rating zone instead of like everywhere just kind of pushed together. This is obviously going to be helping people that are in smaller rating zones, etc., instead of going up against like global, which offhand, I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think this is awesome. It was because I know there is the two differences with the grand challenge versus global challenge, and sometimes like, oh, if you faced a Korean player that knocked you out of top 32, but he's not in the region or whatever, like he's not eligible, yada yada yada. Like people complain about that. Now your points are region specific. I think it's interesting. At least I'm always down for Pokemon to be trying new things, right? To not just do the same old system and like, we're doing it because we're doing it. That's what we've always done. If this flops, if it's bad, sure. Like maybe some people will get to San Francisco from grinding out the GCs that would not have otherwise if it was the old system. But I'm down. I always like that they are trying to adapt, trying to change this plus 3 turns, trying to change the top cut, to top 16. Like they're always trying to improve, and I think that's good. From like my confusion on this Sierra is a lot of people are complaining like, oh, now GCs are even more important than ever. Now you have to spend more time at home playing, and it's like we got to pick a lane here as players, because you can't simultaneously complain that you have to wallet warrior and travel to 45 events around the world to qualify for Worlds, and then also complain that the ability to earn championship points from the comfort of your own home is too valuable. You know what I mean? It's been going on Twitter, and it's driving me insane that, this is now you got to play in more GCs, you got to dedicate more time to it. It's like, aren't you the one complaining that you also have to wallet warrior and go to a bunch of regionals? Now you might not have to. Maybe if you win a grand challenge, you're Fetty Compo out here winning 2 different GCs in the same season, getting those max points. I know obviously not everyone's going to win, but like that might help you end with the higher bar, which we'll talk about when we get there. Like they are accounting for more championship points being awarded through this. It's good you can earn CP from home, because that means you potentially have to travel less, and more players are going to qualify with this upgraded amount of CP that's being given out. I think it's just a win-win.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the conversation bounces back and forth between we need things that are not in person because can't travel into we hate global challenges and stuff. I think the rating zone offhand will help, because I do think that they are a little bit more grindy when you are competing worldwide as opposed to just in your region. So I think even that change is going to help a little bit. I think a part of the issue with like the grindiness feel of them is the 45 games aspect, because I will admit that is over a weekend is my weekend. I actually probably don't normally work the weekend, but like if you want to really do anything, it's a little bit tough. I would maybe like to see going on forward things like grand challenges, global challenges be kind of brought down to 10 to 12 games per day as opposed to 15. That would then put it to 30 to 36 over the course of the weekend as opposed to 45. I think that's a little bit more digestible, as well as like if you're looking at people who are like topping global challenges, if you take like Wolf's Run, for example, I think he only played like 30 games to then get a high enough ranking and then stopped, right? Showcasing 30 is more than acceptable. I think that would maybe help with the this is too much Pokemon aspect of it, right? But I do think that people just need like, you can't win. You can't win.
You really can't win. Because I 100% agree with you. I think it's a great idea to make it to 10 games a day instead of 15. So 30 instead of 45. That's way less stress. That's way less crits. That's way less Smeargle Moody boosts from some random team you weren't expecting. Like, I think it's a great idea. And then we're going to have people complain, but now my one loss on Sunday is so much more impactful because I had 15 more games to recover from that loss. So it's like, you can't make everyone happy.
Should have won.
I'm with you 100%.
Simple as that. As simple as that, should have won. But no, I think that this is a really good change overall. I think the other thing is I think sometimes they're, I think it was last year, maybe if not, if it was the year before, I don't know. I remember playing a GC over a regional weekend. That I don't like.
Sure.
That can't happen. That can't happen. I literally didn't finish the game before I had to go cast, and there was a picture that, like, I think it was Jake took, and I literally have my Switch below playing the GC while trying to, like, be on the death to cast, right? Like, it's like we need to change those weekends just a little bit. But
That's fair.
overall, yeah, different rating zones, absolutely amazing. League challenge kickers have been adjusted to better reflect average attendance. Awesome. We love that. More championship points have been allotted to 9th through 64th place at championship events. I did try to find it. Yeah, I did try and find a chart for this. The website is still showing the championship points for the 2025 season. I couldn't find the chart for the 26 season. If it exists, I apologize. But yeah, I mean, people have always been asking for more points at the event, more points being allotted. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think that's good. And now you might feel a little bit better if you finish in 18th, but you got, let's say, 30 more CP out of it, and the higher bar, the 80 players that qualify, right? So championship points are all irrelevant in the sense that, like, it's however Pokemon implements the system, right? It could be 5 points for winning, or it could be 500. It doesn't matter as long as everything scales properly. You know what I mean? So like, I just think it's a positive to get more CP out of it.
Yeah. And we'll take this opportunity to go to the other page, because there's 2 pages of the notes. They split it up. Me and Joe Brown had a little confusion before the podcast started because we were looking at different pages, and he's like, you just click this. And I'm like, I do not have this button, guys. Like, I do not have this button. But this one is more about the World Qualification, Championship Point Overview, etc. And before anyone's like, well, just click these links, Sierra, they'll tell you it's a definition guide. So yeah,
right.
Rating zones, they go over that. World Qualification. I'm pretty sure it's changed for the other ones as well, but VGC is the one that we're going to be talking about. For Masters in 2025, it was 75 invites. I believe Europe as well. They have bumped it up to 80 respectively. LATAM is at 60. Oceania, I believe, did not get bumped at all. I think they're at 20 this year. They're at 20 again this year. I know some people are already upset tweeting about that. I do naturally think makes sense. If you're upping every rate zone, they could get an extra, like even if you're bumping up by, like, okay, well, we can't bump up by 5 because we did 75, give them 2 more at least. Why do we care about, like, the even numbers? Well, we're going to mess that up with auto invites anyway. So direct invites, sorry. Put them at 22. That's fine. Middle East and South Africa, I don't think that this was bumped at all. Same thing, if you're bumping everyone, you can give them a 6. That's fine. But offhand, a couple more slots.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's still, again, you can't make everyone happy. Like the same, I use the March Madness explanation every time. 68 teams make March Madness in college basketball, and the 69th team is always complaining that they would have had a shot to win it all, so there's nothing you can do. Now it'll be the 81st person complaining that they didn't qualify for Worlds, but they are alleviating that. There's more championship, or there's more CP from that top 9 to 64. You're getting more CP opportunities per zone region in the grand challenges and the global challenges. Overall, I think they listen. They're like, man, maybe 75 was a little too cutthroat, especially when TCG gets 125. So now 80 just feels a little bit better to me.
It's also like, naturally there is going to be a growth of the game over the years, right? So I think realistically, if we are keeping to this invite system, we should probably expect every year that this goes up by a couple if the game keeps growing at the rate that it's at, because that just kind of makes sense, right? In my opinion, at least. Yeah, TCG, I think they're at 125, so now they're at 135. They went up too.
That's good.
Yeah. LATAM 125. Oceania, this one kind of surprises me. Only 20 for Masters, which is the same amount that we have for VGC. So
crazy.
Anybody in the Oceania rating zone that feels bad about the 20 VGC invites, you're valid, but like, at least you're not a TCG player, because that's a little brutal. I'm not gonna lie. It's not what they want to hear,
but it is the truth, right? Because you could be upset in Oceania, but TCG Oceania should be more sad.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised that this isn't at 30. I don't know the Oceania TCG player base too well, but like, surely when you have 135 in NA, 135 in LATAM, 125, like, That's just shocking to me. That's just shocking to me. Pokemon Go, 75 NA, 65 Europe, 65 LATAM, 10 Oceania, 5 Middle East, South Africa.
That's actually a lot for Go. That's actually pretty impressive once you consider the direct qualifications from all the events, right? That's going to be at least probably 85, 86 people from USA and Canada for Go. That's pretty good.
Yeah, they got a pretty good one. And people that are wondering if there's any changes for the direct invites, nope, same as we looked at this year. I think the system that worked this year is more than fine. I think doing a first and second place for a regional is just way too many direct invites, unfortunately. So yeah, first place makes sense. ICs still first through fourth makes sense. No changes there. I do want to do a little update, though, that is obviously not listed here. But last week on the podcast, we had talked about TCG, the incident of multiple people being tied at that 125th spot and the tiebreaker being play points.
What?
So, first off, crazy. And wasn't wrong. That was originally what it was going to be, but it looks
that
like
was
Pokemon.
In the rule book, correct? Yeah.
Yes. And the person, one of the people who was affected by that, all the world invites went out and he didn't get one. So he was like, well, I guess this is it. This is what it is. And then about an hour later, him and the other people who are tied at that 125th did in fact get an invite. So it looks like Pokemon did decide that instead of doing a play point tiebreaker, anyone who was at that same as that 125th spot did get an invitation to the World Championships, which I think is 100% the right call. And I'm really glad that Pokemon did go back and change that, because tiebreakers by play points just does not seem right or fair in any sense of the world. Play points are what you get when you play at events. So realistically, the more events you play, the more play points you have.
Right.
Which just seems contradictory to, well, if somebody's performing well, they don't have to do as many events. So
they don't have to Wild Warrior as well, right? If you're like Ashton, right? Who Ashton only played, I think Ashton played in the I-Season 2 regionals or something. So there was 5 events total, and he still, because he had the direct qualification, but he still top cut a bunch of the events that he went to. So if you're a player like that who doesn't have to attend as many, you'll still qualify. I think great job by the Pokemon team there. This is just a slam dunk, good publicity to change a bad scenario into just giving everybody who tied in that. So if it ends up being 127 or whatever, or 128 instead of 125, it's only 3 extra chairs at the table, in the grand scheme of things. It's just a great slam dunk move by them to give it to everybody.
Yeah, because again, when you're using that March Madness thing, well, if the 69th team is we could have made it. If someone's tied, that's just a different case. You were as good as the
right. You did qualify, yeah.
So I am very, very glad to see that was changed. Congratulations, Pokemon! Absolutely great stuff. Going in the rest of the page, I don't think that there is much. This is going to be discussed on the other page. But everything else, ICs, larger prize pools. I don't know if they're just saying that as a general, ICs have more than regionals, or if they actually have bumped up, whatnot. But going back to the other page, championship points have been changed. We're almost to the Unite stuff. I have to get my cat out of the corner so he doesn't.
Oh God, get him out of there! Hey, what are you doing? Hey.
He's gonna go mess with all the stuff on the shelf. Or goodness forbid, pee in the corner. Okay, so he is gone. He's gone now, so it's okay. Okay, Pokemon Go Travel Award and Travel Stipend update. Not really too much to say from here, unless you're a Go player, in which case, congratulations, more money. Available travel awards has doubled from 4 to 8, with competitors ranked 5th to 8th on the Pokemon Go Championship Point leaderboard during a specific qualification period, being eligible to earn $1,000 travel stipend. Yeah, honestly, when they have as many world invites as they do, I think we go down to top 16 when you're looking at, we have travel awards and stipends. Another 4 here. Great, awesome.
Yeah,
get your bag, Go players.
Exactly. If you're sending 75 players from the region, you should be able to reward at least 8 of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, yep, not really much else to say from there, except we love that change. We would also like more money, but I'm glad that they're getting more money.
Yeah.
Ace Trainer Rewards program returns. That was something that was a change going into the 2025 season. because obviously with it being more difficult to get a Worlds invitation, they were like, okay, well, we'll reward people. So what the ace trainers got wasn't announced till like really, really late. And it is 200 championship points. And you get the distinction of ace trainer, which was a card that you got for this year. They're bringing the program back. I just personally like still think the program is very lacking. I'm hoping they do more this year with it, but I'm glad to see it's back, and I hope that they just do more, you know?
I just like wonder what they can do because they're so like I think there was Chris Brown tweeted all the participants at NAIC with all 4 games at once, and wasn't it like 9,000 people playing at once, or 8,000 people or something across all age divisions and all 4 games all at one time? So like it's all because you can't give ace trainers like Poké Center access or something, right? Like you can't because it's just too many of them. So it's almost like what else can they do besides like, I don't know, give you a special coupon to like the Pokemon Center website that like use ace trainer 20 to get like a 20% discount or something that only you could get because you're an ace trainer. Like I don't know what else you could give people besides that one card.
I think just like from a bare bones, something that they could do. So Valorant, for their battle passes, obviously very different system, but during the battle pass, you get to a certain point in the battle pass, there'll be a player card that you can get. Then if you complete the battle pass and then the epilogue, which is essentially 5 more chapters within the battle pass, you get a special gold version of said player card that you got during the battle pass. Considering the amount of people that whiffed Worlds Qualification that had more than 500 championship points, I would love to, as even just like a bare bones extra step, have a 200 championship point ace trainer, you get the card, and then have like a special stamped version, like a top ace trainer for 500. So then you're like, it's not really like that much more work or anything, in my opinion. I don't know the logistics of it in terms of the Pokemon Company. If you're looking at the amount of people that get like 500 or more, realistically, there are probably people that are more so like whiffing Worlds. Like I just think that there is something you can do for like higher championship point rewards that are just like, you could do the same base card but stamped or like a different coloration or foil or anything of that. Like
that's a good idea. One, because you're giving more of a reward, right? And again, the same as like earning 200 CP versus earning 600 and not qualifying. They're 2 different things. And you can, if you're giving this to like kind of 500 and above, there's still, it's like, oh, well, what's the difference? As well, like, I qualified for Worlds, I was better, whatever. Like, okay, well, you get this stamped version, and then you also earn a Worlds Pikachu card that the player with 500 CP doesn't earn, right? When you check in for what, so you're still achieving and earning something in addition to that mid-ground championship point earner. So I think that's a great idea.
Especially, too, realistically, with the global challenges and locals and points being brought down more for regional events, for someone who's trying to get Ace Trainer and is, knows how to click buttons in the game, I don't think it's the most difficult. I think the more people that I see having difficulty with Ace Trainer are more so people who just don't have the time to go to events. I think realistically, if you get to go to events, you can get that. So realistically, then, if people aren't trying for the Worlds invite, but they want to compete, they get to the 200, which should be decently easy, then they have nothing to work towards. If you do that 500
and the updated region based on GCs,
yeah, but then now you do, okay, well, 200 you get a reward, 500 you get an extra reward, then people are still incentivized to actually compete more and like keep going to their locals and keep trying to improve and play the global challenges instead of just like falling off when, well, I got 200. So Pokemon, please. I'm
That's
asking.
A great idea. I like it a lot.
I think it's a good idea. All right. Next up, this one is a very big change for Pokemon Unite. Pokemon Unite Championship Series will no longer operate based on championship points. And instead, exclusively invite teams through 3 primary methods. All qualified teams will receive travel awards for the 2026 Pokemon World Championships. All qualified teams, first off, crazy. Finishing top
per team, so it adds up even more.
Okay, doubling down, Pokemon like VGC would like more money too, please. I'm just saying. Finishing top 2 in a Pokemon Unite regional league. Regional league, you might be like, what? We'll get to that in a second. Winning AOS Cup at EUIC, Asia Champions League, or the final stretch at NAIC. Checks out. Winning, and it's a little typo here, AA. Winning a Pokemon Unite Open Last Chance Qualifier. So you might be like, regional league, what's that? That's going to be the biggest change that they are introducing this year to get instead of doing the championship point. They're introducing 3 8-team leagues for North America, Europe, and LATAM, which will have regular round-robin play over a few weeks and with a promotion relegation system. And then, yeah, that is a big change.
It's so awesome.
I think it's very cool. I think that's very reminiscent of what like people do with other leagues. Oh my god!
Did your cat just fall? What happened?
God, he is so little podcast break. So my cat, normally I have the giant Piplup on top of my desktop tower because my cat will jump on the computer tower. So my cat's on the computer tower and he decides that he wants to try and make his way to the desk. So what does he grab? The mouse pad. What does the mouse pad do? Slides instantly off the table with him on it. They say all cats land on their back. It absolutely does not. So he's just on the ground on his back with the mouse pad like half over him, looking at me like I have personally betrayed him. What are you gonna do
about this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's too funny. Hey, and that's what he's got 9 lives for, right? You just wasted 1.
Dude, well, I mean, it's like less than a foot drop. It's just like, it was just so funny. He just like laid there on his back, like shell shocked. All right.
My god.
Cats, gotta love them. Gotta love them.
Mental reset. We're getting essentially an LCS for Unite, the League Championship Series, but Unite. I think this is one of the coolest things.
How do we feel about this as esports fans? Because like offhand, yes, one of the coolest things. But as well, it's then I would be interested with the promotion relegation system for how often there's teams refreshing. And I do think that this does make it difficult for tier 2 teams to be able to break in as well, which is a system like obviously with League, you see more franchising, like those are paid spots. With Valorant, it's open invite, but again, it was like, well, was the org doing good? Is this profitable, etc.? And you're not seeing strong tier 2 teams really be able to break into major events, except if they win 1 tournament a year to bring 1 team up. So like, this is like both really cool in pushing towards that esports-esque thing, but that's also a system that has been criticized within said esports ecosystem.
Yeah, I think I'm excited for it personally. I think one of the things that esports, what helps certain esports, and because they always want to be different from traditional sports, and I come from a traditional sports background, right? So I often compare it to how regular, traditional sports operate. And one of the things that helps why football is so popular, why baseball, why basketball, why hockey, why soccer, whatever, is the consistency. Like, the reason soccer is so massive in England is just because every Saturday at 3 o'clock, the whole town is at the pub watching the team every Saturday play. There is consistency to it, right? Like, that's why Daz is such a big soccer fan, because he grew up every Saturday watching his team play. And so when you watch baseball, at 7 p.m. in your time zone, your team is playing 162 games in a 180-day stretch of baseball. You're getting it. Basketball, you're playing 82 games. Football, it is every Sunday. It is literally church. Some people go to church and then watch football. Other people, football is their religion, right? There's consistency to it. Unite, it's like, okay, well, or not just Unite, I'll use all esports like that are trying to grow. Like, okay, like on this weekend, there might be this event and it starts at 8 a.m. and then maybe 5 weeks later, there's another one that starts at 2 p.m. And then like, this is actually different from that. And this is just a qualifier for this other thing. And it kind of is just all over the place. Now people have a consistent league to root for, either if you're from LATAM, you're from EU, whatever region you're going to watch, like the League Championship Series, which is called the LTA now, which is just a whole nother thing. But LCS, a lot of people know, that's the North American League of Legends that every weekend you were watching Team Liquid and Cloud9 and 100 Thieves and and FlyQuest or whatever. They added consistency to help grow those leagues. So I think this can only help. And with those relegation spots, it actually, I think, helps people get in because you and your friends could think you could qualify. You don't have to schmooze. You don't have to know one of the top 8 teams like in a system that has franchises, right? Which you have to know someone who knows somebody to get in there. Now you and your friends could try to qualify for it. So I think it's awesome.
See, there's just like looking at like LCS and Valorant and etc. Like I think the viewership is just kind of as they've gone into more of this franchising, etc., with the scheduled stuff, which makes it unique to then sports. But then obviously that's a really big and proven model. Maybe just because esports just isn't at that level. But I think what's like obviously that thing where you're saying, oh, with the promo relegation, that allows people to like break in. And that is like obviously a great point because one of the issues is, of course, teams need to be able to break in. But where that also hurts is when you are looking at trying to get more organizations and stuff into Pokemon, the reason that like the other big like esports and etc. doesn't really quite have the same promo relegation is it's not then financially feasible for the orgs to invest into a team that then gets relegated out of the league.
Right.
So when you do have a more open like promotion relegation, how safe and stable is it for then teams to invest? Pokemon Unite is getting like more and more interest within that sponsorships. Obviously, you see Luminosity, there's Paper X, obviously Asia Circuit, but those are 2 big orgs, right? I mean, Paper X just won Valorant Masters Toronto. Like, this is a big org. Also, that was amazing. Oh my god.
Yeah,
but
I was happy for you.
Yeah, it's so cool, so cool. But yeah, them being in Pokemon Unite is amazing. And if you're looking at promotion relegation, maybe more orgs would want to come in. But if there's not really too much stability for those teams that are playing in their round robin, well, then how long do they stick around? So I'm watching this with great interest. I'm so intrigued. I am excited to see some sort of changes because I do think that Unite needed some sort of changes just because it's a very different esport than the rest of the Pokemon titles. I'm not 1,000% sure just because obviously my own reservations with seeing like LCS and Valorant, but I really just hope the best. And I don't know, like I would love to get involved like back with Pokemon Unite for this and be able to follow it like more because it would just, this seems so cool.
Yeah, and I think it does add a quote unquote legitimacy to Unite, where maybe some people might not see it as some of the other esports out there, like Valorant or like League or whatever. That now, it has an official league, it has an official everything. Like it makes it seem more quote unquote legitimate. But also, like another popular one is the Street Fighter League. So they have a Japanese one and they have an American Street Fighter League, and it's every week it's teams of 3v3, and it's like a whole season long, and it helps develop the characters, it helps develop the players, right? And so I know who Doublelift is, I know who all the great League of Legends players are because I watch them play every week. I know Luminosity's great. I only see them every 4 months winning an IC. I don't know the players, but if I watch them every week, I'm going to know their favorite Pokemon, their favorite food, their favorite everything, and get more invested in the character development too.
Yeah, that will definitely be really good for like the storylining of the players. And obviously if like Luminosity, like they say like from the get-go, several top teams from each rating zone will initially be invited to participate in their respective regional leagues. So we'll use Luminosity as that example, right? Like as long as Luminosity doesn't get relegated at any point, which realistically, considering their wittiness, like it should be all good and like great for them too. But I am very intrigued with how often that promotion relegation is, with then how stable it's going to be for other teams within like the ecosystem to really be able to pop off. But for the teams that should realistically never get relegated, Luminosity, it'll be fantastic for them. I like it's so interesting. I'm worried, but I'm excited. I'm worried but excited.
Yeah.
Yes, nervously, anxiously excited. Next up is obviously the biggest, not the biggest, but one of the biggest things with the announcement, because you might be like, I don't care about Unite, or like, I don't really compete enough to like care about like the rules of adventure, whatever. We got some of the regional championship, special championship schedule. I say some because there is absolutely no way that this is a complete list. Last year, they also did the same thing where they didn't release the same list. They didn't release the whole list.
It's not a 3 regional season, you know?
Yes, but we got a lot of good information. So we are double. We got a Monterey event, Frankfurt to be kicking off the first regionals of the season. I still feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's not weird that there isn't a September 6th to 7th event in NA. I actually really would have anticipated that. I'm curious if something changes there. I do not see how September 19th is going to be the first NA event. I don't know, that's weird. But first NA event is going to be Pittsburgh. Back to Pittsburgh.
I had fun in Pittsburgh. I liked Pittsburgh. It was very busy. We were there the opening weekend of the home weekend for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So every hotel was sold out, and also Pittsburgh University, like whatever the college, also played that Saturday night. So it was like everything in the city was sold out. Of the whole casting team and pay play and everything. We were literally split up with like 5 different hotels. I don't remember if you were at Pittsburgh or not.
No, I missed the first half of the season.
So the Go team was at one hotel 20 minutes away, and then the TCG team was at another hotel, and then like half of the production team was at a third hotel, and then VG and some Pokemon people were at a 4th hotel. Like it was a bizarre weekend, but it was a lot of fun. It was a really fun weekend. I'm excited to be going back to Pittsburgh. I think I'm actually, from what I understand, I'm like kind of close. I think I'm only like a 3.5 or 4 hour drive from Pittsburgh, which my brain doesn't compute how I'm that close in Rochester. I'm closer now than I was in Jersey, which was 6 hours away. I think it's fine to take a month off. Like I'm the other way around. I'm not surprised that there isn't a September 5th first weekend event. I feel like a month is a good break. Monterey, it's 3 weeks after Pittsburgh, you got a month to reconvene. I'm more stressed about that Pittsburgh into Milwaukee. That's only a couple week turnaround there.
See, maybe just because like I'm in the situation where like broadcasting and Pokemon is my full time. Like I see this would be like 2-3 weeks. I think it's actually 3 weeks between these two, and I'm like, oh my god, 3 weeks to the next one. I don't know. I love the back to backs. Actually, my guess is there's going to be a grand challenge on the 6th to 7th weekend to kick off the season. Okay. I think that's going to be my official guess. That's what I'm putting down. Milwaukee, I think my biggest surprise with Milwaukee is normally a spring, a later spring event, and they're actually pushing it to be very early. So that's interesting.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I liked Milwaukee in May and June, like in the spring. Like I don't know. Not that it's going to be too cold, but it is Wisconsin in October, so who knows? Winter might start in October up in Wisconsin.
No, because I think Wisconsin's pretty similar to Ontario, and October 10th to 12th, this is going to be more than fine. It'll be good. Plus, there's a big casino there, so
because now if you think about it, so there was only 2 regionals between Milwaukee, right? Which obviously it doesn't matter. They're 2 different seasons. But if you think about it, there was just Portland and then NIC Worlds and then Pittsburgh and Milwaukee again. It was like, we just went there. Like, what just happened? I like the spring Milwaukee, so I'm a little sad for this being early. But it is what it is.
I think they're switching around where like some like events take place, which then Milwaukee being moved here, I think makes sense. I think it'd be fine. I'm not too upset. Both the first events are near me, which is great. And
there's a bigger regional that we have to talk about.
Yeah, we're slowly getting there. Brazil going to be the same weekend as Milwaukee. Lille happening 2 weeks after. Gdansk to start off November. Then we have the regional that nobody ever thought was going to happen, Las Vegas. This, I think, was so funny because, like, someone was telling me, like, this is why we're never having a Las Vegas regional. I'm just like, sure. Sure. I might have been tipped off.
Are you aware we've been in New Orleans, Louisiana for the last 2 years? I think New Orleans was a bit of a gateway city to open the floodgates to some other cities to make them eligible, and we made it out alive for the most part. We made it out of New Orleans in one piece. So they said, let's go to Vegas, baby.
Like, the thing is because I think the biggest thing, because they've never had a Las Vegas regional championship from what I can recall. think the biggest thing was people are just like, well, Las Vegas is the party city, the casinos, and it's a kids game. Okay, they hold different card games there all the time.
Constantly.
CFT has had an open there, and I know those ones aren't as much kids games, but the thing is it's just a very good place to be holding a large scale event.
Yes.
And realistically, if you look at Las Vegas in comparison to New Orleans or literally anywhere else, like I said, Milwaukee has a casino right nearby that's absolutely humongous. You go to any event and there could be, I mean, you go to Excel in London, there's a bunch of pubs right outside. Like if you're looking at what's kid friendly in the area, realistically, no event is absolutely perfect for that, right? So then why not Las Vegas? Obviously, this one still has a lot of excitement around it because people are excited for, like, you know, the casinos and the party and stuff. The adults, you know.
Miss my Precipice Blades and, you know, what was the tweet? So I'm going to put 100 hours on black for every Precipice Blades I miss, you know?
I missed that. That's so funny. But this should be so much fun. I think that this is like, flights to Las Vegas are normally very cheap. Hotels are normally very cheap because, again, like they
want you in the door.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think when you're looking at a regional event, that's actually just perfect.
I think it's perfect. I think it is also the end of fall, right? Which I know it's still the desert, so I'm not going to say it's going to be freezing, but like it's not August, right? It's not going to be 118 degrees outside in November, so that's also exciting. Yeah, the people that complain it's not kid friendly, it's like, okay, well, there's like 72 juniors. So, but there are 4,000 players in the Masters division at TCG that are all, most of them, because it's 16 and up, most of them are adults that would appreciate Vegas. Literally last week, One Piece had a regional in Vegas. Magic the Gathering had their largest event ever in Las Vegas last week. We're in a different world. It's not 2009 anymore, like where it's all like, where Vegas, you can go for non-degenerate things. It's not going to just be the hangover. Like some people will go to play VGC and have fun. Like I'm very excited for that. I don't even know if I'm going to go, or if I get chosen, I'll be excited. Even if I don't get to attend Vegas, I'm happy that it's on the schedule. The same way I was happy that New Orleans was on the schedule, because it means we are evolving as a circuit, as a company. They're taking bigger risks. They're willing to expand the regional circuit and the locations, and I think that's a good thing.
I've heard too that there actually is a lot of kid-friendly activities. Obviously, if you're not going to the strip,
because there are kids that live in Vegas, right? Their families live there.
And then plus, like, I'm friends with like the parents of some juniors, and like I'm sure, like, you're talking about, like, well, there's only X amount of like juniors. I'm willing to put everything on black that they are going to get a babysitter and they are going out. I had to check in on the kids all day and take care of them at the event. Like, they'll be pumped. So I think that this is just really exciting overall. And then any outside of regional activities besides, like, that should be a big hall. They're more than capable of holding events, very easy to get to. Like, that's just top tier. Then we get to Buenos Aires, Argentina, special event. Stuttgart, yet again, end of November. Then, notably, there is nothing for December. December has normally been Toronto the last couple of years, for better or for worse.
Remember, Toronto was Halloween 2 years ago. It was San Antonio into Toronto, which neither of them are listed. However, they both kind of look like they are regional locations off of that map. So might be one of those two.
The map, by the way, is the one that was tweeted out by Play Pokemon, like a little like video map. But this is where we start getting to the point in the schedule where there is a lot of like sporadic events. So anticipating that there is going to be some locations that have not necessarily been locked down. I definitely anticipate we will have a December event. I am very much so hoping that this is going to be the San Antonio, Dallas, wherever in Texas, and that will maybe save Toronto till the spring, because Toronto,
it was cold.
It was a terrible December location.
It was cold.
I personally have talked to, not on an official channel, just like joking around with like a TPCI employee, and I'm like, why why.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is terrible. Like, any other time.
When Gabby and I went to go get Tim Hortons on the morning, like, we got frostbite just walking outside to get Tim Hortons. Like, it was rough.
Oh yeah, it is cold. Like, even when it was the Halloween event, it is still too cold. Like, it is, let's just have it into springtime when it's really nice. And because Toronto, you guys might not know because you've been inside so much. Toronto, especially near the convention center, is a wonderful location when you can actually walk outside. So yeah, really, really hoping that. After that, Birmingham, UK, January. We got Auckland, New Zealand, Chile. Then this is where we really don't get much information. A lot of people were not very happy. EUIC. Not only is it back in London, but it's also during Valentine's Day weekend. There's a lot of funny tweets like, taken players don't play Pokemon. What does it matter? But
I was just going to say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people not happy with it just being in London. Though I've always liked London personally. I don't know.
I just think it's so far from the airport, bro. That's what kills me. It's not that I have no issue with London. Like, London's fine, and it's obviously a big venue, and they have a good relationship with the Excel Center, right? At this point, after so many events, so that's good to form those relationships with these areas. But like, it's just so far to get to where you need to go.
Kylo had to come by and give his opinion about Excel Center. I don't know if you guys could hear his meow into the mic. I've gotten to go to EUIC the last 2 years, and then both of us did like London World back in 22. The first 2 years I did Uber from the airport to the convention center. I had overnight flights. Yep. I had migraines from the travel. I was just in no condition to make my way with a giant suitcase across town on the tube at 6 a.m. This past year was the first time that I've done the trip going through tube with my giant suitcase. And it was actually really easy. I know that it's still like long travel, but it was 25 minutes on like the one direct train, one cross into 15-20 minutes or something like that. Like, it was actually a fairly easy trip and really cheap in comparison to like what I maybe kind of expected. So I don't know, maybe just because whenever I have to go to a regional, the first part of my journey is a 5.5-hour train ride into an additional 30-minute train into like anything else.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe I'm just like, this isn't too bad. I didn't think it was that bad. Like, I don't know. But it's my opinion.
I didn't know where I was going. I got lost. It was like one of the worst days ever when I was traveling to Worlds in 22. Even though everything was in English, I still couldn't understand any of it. You know what I mean?
Well, then hopefully the both of us are on EUIC this year, because I had the easiest trip of my life.
We'll
land
together. We'll plan it.
Yeah, because
to save
super
200
easy.
pounds.
It was just super easy. Or we just split the Uber and like whatever. It goes from there.
I like that.
Yeah, perfect. We got Sevilla again after that. I am not gonna try and say this.
Go for it.
I am not gonna try and say this, but we have another event in Mexico.
Querétaro, Mexico.
Yeah, something like
Hopefully
that.
I got that, guys.
We have Utrecht again. Lima, and then New Orleans again. Most contracts are on a 3-year when you look at just kind of like the universe and how that stuff works. So not too surprised, but yeah, glad that we have the IC dates and everything just all out in the open, all done. Yeah, but obviously for NA, we do not have any events scheduled after not even just the end of November. Technically we only have until midway through November. We don't have any NA events afterwards planned.
I think what that means, one, it's very confusing, like, because if you're going to reveal so much for Europe and Latin, why would you not reveal more for America? Like, we might have a couple more. Everybody knows Portland exists, but it's not on the graphic, but we all know it's there and we know it's happening, but it's not officially announced. And right, yeah. So I think that's what's probably going to happen a lot this year, is they're just trying to just sign one last piece of paper. And I think we didn't officially get Portland until like after
Portland. We waited forever for.
I think it was literally like after EUIC, it was finally officially announced or something. Like, so
they just had it on all the graphics as TBD.
I'm a little upset, or like a little sad that we didn't at least get the December regional just so we could plan out through the rest of 2025, because obviously people, more information, the better. If I wanted to go to Lima, Peru, I now know I could plan it, right? I know however many months out. With NA, I really can't do that at this moment. And since we have so few announced, I would expect that the regional count has not increased. I would imagine it probably still stays at 9 since they announced so few.
Yeah, I don't imagine that they would just be like, here is 10 more locations. I feel like that's a little much. As much as I would love that personally, but like when you're already looking at like the scheduling and like the time wise, like I don't,
because then it'll essentially be, besides EUIC, it'll be 1 per month, right? If you do, I know people like the less, they don't like the less regionals, but if there are 9 regionals per region and 3 ICs, that's 12 large events, and hold them in all 12 different months of the year, I guess, or 10 of the or 11 of the months, because Worlds has August lockdown. But like there will be a December regional, there'll be a January regional, there maybe not February because of EUIC, but then you go to March. Like we are going to have the events, just have to wait for it.
Yeah. So like what events like do we think are coming back? Like Toronto, I am again dead set on my theory that after San Francisco Worlds is Toronto Worlds, because the 3-year schedule that tends to happen with convention centers when you book, if you don't want to be paying through the nose. It was just switched to the convention center for last year. They'll do a Toronto regional this year at the convention center, and then they'll do Toronto Worlds for, I guess that would be 27. That is still my theory. So to stay true with that theory, I think that Toronto is going to be on here. I don't see them axing Vancouver at this point, as like I just don't see them getting rid of the second Canada event. Like maybe if anything, they'd move to Calgary or Edmonton, but I just doubt it. I think we'll always have 2 Canada,
and it's easy for Pokemon to get to, so that also helps them. You know, I think that Texas. I think that video, like I know Adi tweeted out, a lot of people tweeted out where they're, for those who are unfamiliar, they released a new season video, and they had like the Earth, and each part of the Earth, they had like these little blips, these lights over America, and somebody mapped it out, and it was like, okay, this light looks like it's in San Antonio and Vancouver and Orlando and Toronto and Pittsburgh and Indianapolis and stuff, and Milwaukee too. So the fact that like the fact that those lights geographically had Vegas, Milwaukee, and Pittsburgh exactly right makes me assume that the rest of those are correct. So it's exciting to go back to Orlando. I was a fan of Orlando, maybe sad to lose Atlanta, because a lot of people had fun in Atlanta. Indianapolis would be the one, surprise, because it seemed like we had left Indy, had left Fort Wayne, had left the state. So that'd be the one surprising thing to me, instead of having Indianapolis be like something a little further west, because it's pretty much like just the West Coast, right? It's Vancouver, it's LA is the other dot, and then Vegas. So I think overall it should be exciting. I love San Antonio. Hopefully that one comes back. I hope that just becomes a staple, honestly, like, because that's such a fun city.
I've never done the San Antonio. I've done the Arlington for TCG, which Arlington
way better than Arlington.
Yeah, Arlington wasn't that great, but I've heard good stuff about San Antonio, so I would hope. But yeah, that is all we have for official information. I like that we can have those little spoilers from like the mapped out map, because
that's their way of telling us without telling us, which we appreciate, because they're not leaving us in the dark. They just can't officially say it yet.
Yeah, no, I appreciate. But yeah, that was, I know if anyone's like, oh, we wanted some VGC news, like we didn't get into too much. Next week, there was the National Championships in Japan. That is going to be a topic that we do cover next week. Then we can also talk about results from the Victory Road Tour this weekend, as well as the St. Jude charity event that, again, if you haven't signed up for, there is going to be a broadcast for, and there's a stream. It's a great cause. You should definitely support. But that is it for the...
Well, hold on.
News.
We do have one question of the week. Shout out to the one person that asked the question. We could churn through it quickly.
I was going to say that's it for the Pokemon news.
Oh, my bad. I thought we were signing off. Oh my god, I ruined it. Oh my god, I'm sorry.
You ruined it. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. No, let's go, Joe. You're making sure we get that question in. Let's go.
Okay, shout out. So we always ask our question of the week at the end of every podcast. If you have any burning questions you would like to ask Sierra or myself, join our Discord linked in the description down below. asking the channel the question of the week. Channel, this is from J4B10. A lot of letters and numbers. That's the name. Okay. And I think it's a fair question because of the announcement and everything. Since After Worlds Pokemon seems to be more willing to shake up the power level of the meta, like Regulation H eliminating Legends, or Series 13 Sword and Shield letting you use the Mythicals, what do you think the next regulation will be after Worlds? Will there be a big shift in power level, and if so, which way? So basically, what do we think? What do we A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J? What do we think Regulation J is going to be post Worlds?
I think it's just going to be Regulation H.
Really?
I don't think you do G twice, and I don't think I continues. Simple as that.
I think we're going to get a Sun Moon Ultra-esque season. I think we're going to start with whatever rule set they want. I think it's going to be a no Terra rule set, and then you introduce Legend or Restricted's no Terra, and then the Worlds format would just go back to what we're at now. Like, I think they gotta have something, or how about this? What if it's just a no Terra, whatever, no Terra, no Restricteds, and then they announce Pokemon Champions for January, and then we just play on Champions.
I was gonna say one thing that we did forget to talk about was the very, very intentional use of language of the mega. So this we can kind of incorporate with the question of the week here. But this was actually something we did want to discuss, and I forgot about it. So going back to the Play Pokemon post, what was very intentional when they posted this, let me pull up the tweet. Let me like the tweet so you guys don't call me a fake Pokemon fan here.
I was ready. I was ready to log in my alt and call you fake Pokemon fan.
All right. So if you look, very intentional language. Get ready for a new season of mega proportions. And look, the graphics include mega Pokemon. This is a map that we were talking, like Joe Brown was talking about with the little like light spikes by the before. But yeah, there is very clear megas in everything, which then is interesting because obviously Legend ZA is coming out. But in terms of our competitive circuit, megas aren't in it yet. No, but they're very, very determined with this mega. They're putting megas in all the announcements. So I think that we'll probably do Regulation H until the new year. I think what could happen, I do not think that we'd be playing on Scarlet and Violet for the rest of the year with megas. I think in terms of a coding, that maybe it's just going to be a logistical nightmare. It would be cool.
Megas don't even exist in Scarlet and Violet. So
exactly.
If you have a Mega Charizard, I'm calling you a judge. Like you're
exactly. So we could even theorize that the reason that there is the break in events is because of a champs release over winter.
Yeah, but TCG people still have to play, right? Go people still have to play.
Yeah, but if they don't know if VG is, they could be holding off on saying that, right?
True.
Or like they can't say like, hey, like if they are planning a champs release, I'm getting into the tin hat theories now. I'm fully on, okay? Like put it on. If they already have the events for December, January, February planned out, but maybe let's say champs releases early January and they don't have then VGC events until February or EUIC, like I don't know, but then EU has events, so maybe that like theory doesn't really like quite work.
Hold on, but think about it this way: most, pretty much, except because X and Y was an October release, but since then, most Pokemon games, so Orash, Gen 7, and Let's Go Pikachu, Scarlet and Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, are November releases, right?
Yeah.
Why is Legend ZA releasing so early? This is a mid-October release, and that could be to give that game more shine, because if you release Legend ZA at the end of November, and then January 1st Champions, I know it wouldn't be the first, but you know what I mean, you're not really getting enough marketing push out of Legend ZA. But if you put it into October, because Champions has a January release, then you're getting 2.5 months of promo on Legend ZA instead. So I think that's what's really saying. And remember, San Francisco. It's the 10-year anniversary of the last San Francisco Worlds, which is not as relevant, but it is the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. Is 2026. You'd be having champions for the first time as the world's format, the world's game on the 30th anniversary of the game. Champions is this culmination where we're combining all aspects of competitive Pokemon together. Like, I don't think it's a far-fetched theory that we do either what you said, Reg H, or what I think, just a no Terra, no restricted format, just see how it works out for 4 months. And then January, we're locked in, because that gives you shine for Legends ZA from a marketing perspective, which we're not playing on competitively, it doesn't matter. But from their perspective, they want to promote it. And then you don't want people playing champions when they're still trying to play Legends ZA, right? You're going to give a 2-month break to let them beat the game and then start playing champions.
Also, with the release in the Nintendo Switch 2, it is then you sell the consoles over Christmas to then drop it with everyone getting the new consoles.
Right, exactly, because Champions is switched to and mobile. It's not just the phone. So
yeah, so
I think they should hire us. You know,
they should hire us. I think that we've had some great ideas this podcast episode. But yeah, I think realistically, it is just going to be some format until we get to January, and then then we'll be set and to go from there. Because
I would be bummed if it's Reg H. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it'd be Reg H. I would be down for a no restricted, no Terra. I do think that would be very interesting. I do think that it is very easy to just go LOL.
It'd be fun to see, like with Sun and Moon, we learned how does this game operate without Z moves? How does this game operate without Megas? Like we learned how that works. So we've actually never gotten to experience how the Scarlet and Violet roster operates without terrestrializing. I think it'd be an interesting, test.
I would be intrigued by it. I would definitely prefer that over Reg H, but I'm putting I'm saying Reg H, but yeah, I do think that there's no way you advertise Megas so heavily. I do think the one thing that could really take the wind out from under our wings here is if it's maybe talking about different parts of the franchise the TCG, or even just anime. Right? They're just hyping up for Legends ZA in general, because obviously that is still going to be something that is a big game release, right? So there is the possibility that it doesn't actually have anything to do with our circuit, just with the timing for the VGC. VGC timing can always be weird based off of game releases. So I do think that there is a possibility that it actually has absolutely nothing to do with us, and it's just some Legends ZA hype.
Well, but and also because the Mega TCG set comes out in August in Japanese and English in September. So, technically that video is accurate. You will be using Mega Venusaur in the trading card game in this season, regardless of VGC, right?
There you go. But yeah, for VG, I'm on the copium. That will, because then I think we do champions into then having Pokemon transferred from Scarlet and Violet as well as from ZA, which would then include Megas, and then that's where we can get interesting with things. But yeah, I definitely hope, because I do obviously there is precedent in the past. We've had the conversation where they can switch game consoles between a season. They did it with 3DS into Sword and Shield, etc. So they could switch it. I do think the one thing is that we don't have any sort of release information for Champions. They never even put a time frame on it, and normally they do. They don't. It would be
it's
super
pumped. It has to, because there is no Worlds announcement at Worlds. Anna's got to be on stage to tell us something. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Anna's got to tell us something, and it might be the Champions release.
That would be super cool. So I'm hoping, but. So yeah, that's the information about the regulation. I think that we only have one more that we have to get through, hopefully. So I'm hopeful. And if not, if Champions is going to be a 27 thing, then I think that it would be that's actually really interesting.
Don't blame us if we're wrong, okay? We're just being optimistic right now.
I would say we'd probably do maybe the one you're saying, the no Terras, no restricted, into Reg H, into then Reg I for... We're not going to do Reg I 2 Worlds. I don't know. Maybe just a no Terra. I don't... Really? Maybe. I don't know. But that would be probably my guess. We're at a 3rd restricted. Screw it. Have fun.
Yeah. Time will tell. Only time will tell.
Bring 3, pick 2. All right. But... I know you have work, and I've been trying to catch a shiny Regidrago all episode.
Nova.
I've been spending, I think I only have like 5 of my remote passes left for the day. Yes, I spend money on this game. And yeah, I still don't have a shiny Regidrago. And I was walking around doing raids earlier too, which is the regular raid passes. So yeah, I'm struggling out here. So yeah, I have more Regidragos I gotta try and go get. Darn, that one wasn't shiny either. I was hoping
that would have been such a cool moment too.
I know that would have been a great ending to the podcast, but it wasn't meant to be. If you've made it to this point in the episode, thank you all so much for tuning in. Next week, we'll talk about more VGC specific stuff. We'll talk about Japan Nationals. We'll talk about, obviously, VR, etc. And if you have any ideas of what you would like to see over the summer from us, let us know in the comments below, or of course in the Discord, which is linked. That's where we have our question of the week. We have a great community over there, and yeah, we'd love to see you a part of it. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next week for the next episode of OHKO. Take care, everyone.